Greetings and blessings, blessings and greetings, blessed souls, Donzos your Goodman. And we're live from Crown Heights, Kesser Crown Heights, the 17th day of Menachemav. The Father shall come to comfort the children. And last night we had a beautiful experience, vibing and dialoguing with blessed brother Laszlo Sontagh via his internet radio show. I'm joined by a friend of mine, Dennis Ryan, who loves to talk about and promote the teachings of Rambam, Rabbi Moses, and Maimonides. And we got some feedback last night during the show and after the show, and I want to kind of respond to some of the feedback, and I won't use names, and hopefully the dive will go deeper and steeper as we all climb the mountain of truth. One of the comments that was made was that we began discussing the intellect of Adam and Eve, otherwise known as the Seichel of Adam and Chava. Now, the intellect of Adam and Chava is much higher than we can ever imagine, because we have to remember, blessed souls, it says there right in the book of Genesis, Sefer Bereshit, that the Most High Himself was involved not only in the making of the Creator, the making of Adam. The Most High was involved in the making of Adam, original man, Adam Arishon, but He also breathed into him the soul, the breath, soul of life, the Ruach HaChaim. And Chava was formed out of one of his ribs, which shows you that man and woman are supposed to be working side by side. That's a parenthetical commentary. And then this blessed individual mentioned how I discussed how they ate the forbidden fruits, and the type of fruit that was mentioned, as I commented, was not the apple. My question is, who came up with the idea of the apple? We of Israel didn't come up with the idea of the apple, but we of Israel who received not only the written Torah but the oral tradition from Moses as transmitted to him by the Most High in the spirit of prophecy, we're told that it was either a fig or a grape. Now, why either a fig or grape? Well, very soon, when the resurrection comes, blessed souls, we'll have the merit to ask Adam and Eve, what was the fruit that they transgressed? And one particular person, blessed soul, mentioned that they don't hold by this opinion because how could fruits shorten the life or end it? Well, again, let's go back to the facts of what took place in the Garden of Eden. They ate something which came from a tree. Meat doesn't grow from a tree. Fish doesn't grow from a tree. Eggs don't grow from a tree. Either fruits, or depending on what people consider a shrub, or vegetables can grow from shrubs or tuber-like vegetables. They specifically ate from a fruit. Now, the fruits themselves, blessed souls, were not injurious as much as they ate the fruits before they were allowed to eat them. Eventually, it would have been permitted to them to eat the Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And this was their lacking as they began their service in the Garden of Eden, of Gan Eden. Okay. Also, what is mentioned is that meat and animal products have been proven in studies that they contain cholesterol in them, and they not only shorten the life of humans but kill and give heart disease and horrible diseases. True, if consumed in overabundance and in form of gluttony, not for the right reasons. We should be really eating all our foods, blessed souls, in a way to strengthen ourselves to serve the Most High. But those studies conducted were done, in the last 100 years? Well, we have to go back 5,770 years ago, where we didn't have the wicked environmental pollutants we have today, the carcinogens, the synthesized chemicals which have been released with unabounded savagery upon the children of men. Back then, things were quite pure. There was no industrial dumping, there was no nuclear waste, there was no oil rig explosions in the middle of any part of the world. Like Most High should have mercy for that underground water aneurysm that took place in the Gulf of Mexico back in late April. So, again, we are dealing within the context of how we understand Gan Eden, blessed souls. According to the tradition of Torah, prophecy, teachings of prophecy given to Moses, which originally came down in what is known as Lashon Kodesh, in the Holy Tongue, which is associated today with the Hebrew language. Today's Hebrew is called Ivrit Moderni, which is not the original pronunciation of the Lashon Kodesh. And the name Ivri, Hebrew, was adapted because Avraham Ivri, Abraham, the Hebrew, took upon himself and was divinely charged to carry on the tradition of transmitting the Lashon Kodesh. And through, unfortunately, the travails and the dissensions of the process of us being in exile of Israel, not only did we lose the tradition, most of us, only very few people in every generation really understand the true Lashon Kodesh. We have the various forms of Hebrew, and Jews from around the world have different dialects of how to understand it. But also, blessed are the children of Noah, B'nai Noach, also lost the tradition of Lashon Kodesh, because actually that is the first language of the human race. That was the language that was being spoken at the time when they built the Migdal Bovel, the Tower of Babel. And why is it called Babel? Because the Most High saw that although they were in unity and brotherhood and peace, but that peace was on the condition to actually wage war against the Most High by building this tower to blaspheme Him in the highest heights of the creation, extending from the earth towards the heavens, where they thought He would be physically found. But of course the Most High is not bound by physicality, but He is the source of our physicality, and the physicality manifested in all of the creation. So what I'm trying to do is not criticize this blessed soul's opinion, but show to this person, anyone who wants to make inquiries or state their opinions, that all they are opinions. But what do they have to do with the original traditions that we of Israel have been passing down throughout the generations? And what we of Israel have to be humbled by is that because of the harshness of the exile, the last almost 2,000 years since the destruction of the Second Temple, and even beforehand, we ourselves have lost some of the traditions. So we're all trying to piecemeal together all these divine instructions given down to the prophet Moses and the prophets that followed him, until we have the visionaries of today and the visionaries of yesterday. So we're all a work in progress, but basically speaking, we of Israel have a very firm foundation in our opinions based on the traditions, not based on our opinions of what we think about, which in other context, if a person says that's their opinion, within what context have they formed their opinion, aside from that makes sense or doesn't make sense? Well, let's say a modern day prophet came down onto the earth today, if he wasn't economically independent fully, and he started saying he is a prophet, well, modern day prophet today might wind up in a psychiatric ward, because after all he's hearing the voice of the Most High. So we see that the prophets of old had to be able to sustain themselves quite sufficiently, self-sufficiently, in order for the people to see that here is a person who is, quote-unquote, hearing the voice of the Most High in prophecy, the Ruach HaKodesh, and yet he can sustain himself. So it's not that he or she is going off on a tangent and just speaking the whims of their should we say, koach hadimyon, the power of imagination, and really what they're saying has nothing to do with the physical reality the rest of us less conscious human beings have. So that's just one point I want to dwell on, and maybe we'll make another tape talking about video dealing about the tree of life, contrasting it against the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And something that we should also discuss a little bit, hopefully in the future, blessed souls, is what is this Garden of Eden, and what were the specific and tremendous positive qualities of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. But we're running out of time here now, and we have to upload it and hopefully go out into the community and do some good works today. This is Danzo Yukov Shana from Kesser Crown Heights, where it's beautiful today. This morning at about 8:11 Eastern Standard Time. Ahav Echad, one love, Gorel Echad, one destiny, Babori Echad, and the one Creator, Kulano, for all of us. B'darchinam darchi shalom, in a peaceful and pleasant way, B'ofen nitzchi, with the emphasis on Ofen nitzchi, in an eternal way, eternally.